Thank you, Pedro. Very interesting hearing Eric Hipple talking about patient empowerment and the motives that produce patient innovation. I find myself in a very unfortunate position in that I'm having to deal very closely with a medical profession who know all the answers, know exactly what they're doing, they know best, they know people like me can't possibly contribute, and so I was very, very, very lucky in terms of who I bumped into. As you can see, I'm a chartered engineer, but my area is process engineering, combustion and air pollution control. But when I found I had Marfan syndrome and aortic dilation, this is a problem with the ascending aorta, I needed to open the door into the medical profession and get some heavyweight medics on board. I'm receiving this award personally, but on behalf of the team, because this has very much been a multidisciplinary team project. There is no way I could have done this on my own. Introducing the team, on the left here is Warren Thornton. Warren was a PhD student at Imperial College who ended up doing the computer-aided design code, which was very, very important for this project. Next guy is Professor John Pepper, Professor of Cardiothoracic Surgery, who recently received the OBE. John did the first 25 operations or so. A complete delight to work with, an absolutely wonderful guy. How did he get to be a Professor of Cardiothoracic Surgery? They're mostly arrogant a-holes. But anyway, he did. I'm in the middle.
You may use this because this is being broadcasted.
Sorry. I'm in the middle. I'm just a poor patient who has the aortic dilation, who really needs some assistance. I'm the one who built it, drove it, did a lot of the work, and was the first recipient of the device. Next one along is Peter Gibson. He's our CEO. He's a medical device engineer. So you can actually see we've got 3 engineers here and only 2 medics. There's a surprise. Guy at the end, Professor Tom Treasure. Fantastic guy. A medic with an open mind who looks at the evidence, responds to the evidence, and without his opening the door for me into the medical community, this project would not have existed. So I'm very, very lucky to have met one of the very few really open-minded medics. There are a lot, for example, in the world of HIV/AIDS. They're all open-minded innovators, but in established disciplines within the medical community, such as cardiothoracic surgery, there is so much entrenched obstructive conservatism, it is not true. This gives you an idea of just how open-minded Tom is. Very early in the project, I got put in contact with Bob Anderson. He's a cardiac morphologist, and I went down to his lab in London at the Great Ormond Street Hospital. And while I was playing with Bob's collection of sectioned human hearts, poking my finger down the holes and wiggling the valves and things, Tom and Bob were discussing a series of questions I'd sent to them by email. And I turned around to Tom and I said, hey, you know what the problem with you guys is? What's that? Well, you're facing engineering problems, but you're not engineers. And he had the courtesy and the open mind to say, well, you're right. And that is typical of why this project has succeeded. We have a multidisciplinary team with incredibly open-minded people. And without that, I'd be stuffed. The aim of the project was simple. The surgery that was on offer to me was a replacement ascending aorta. Essentially, they anaesthetize you, open your chest, put you on a heart-lung bypass machine, stop your heart, cut out the pipe, cut out the ascending aorta with the aortic valve in and replace it with a mechanical metal valve and a piece of Dacron pipe. Start your heart back up and put you back on your feet. But it is very intrusive and it commits you to a lifetime of anticoagulation therapy. I do not like drugs. I don't smoke. I don't really drink. I don't take any of the other recreational drugs. I just don't like it. And that is what motivated me. As an engineer, I looked at the ascending aorta and said, well, the only problem with this material is it's a little bit weak in tension. So if we could produce a perfectly fitting external sheath, totally bespoke for each patient, that's going to be a solution, isn't it? So that was our project aim. That's what we set out to do, and that's actually what we actually achieved. This is the result. This is one image of me from 2004, a few months after my operation, and this was 10 years later. This is these are the sinuses of Valsalva, where the aortic valve lives. You can see 2 of the leaflets of the valve, and this is the ascending aorta. And the device sits perfectly right from down here, around the aorta, up there, and then all the way around. So it's a perfectly fitting external support. Wrapping has been tried before but has failed because they didn't have the right tools to do the job. We had the right tools to do the job. We had good medical imaging, we had computer-aided design and rapid prototyping to produce a model of each patient's aorta. So it is totally bespoke. And as you can see, it works. You don't need to be a medical professional to see that that funny-shaped bit of pipe looks just the same as that funny-shaped bit of pipe, except one image is 10 years after the other. Result. So how does external support compare to existing therapies? Well, there are essentially two. One is a total root replacement, which I explained to you, where they replace the valve. The second one is valve-sparing root replacement, where they cut the leaflets of your valve out and try to resuspend them inside a tube graft. Well, speaking as a patient, were you to ask me, I'd say, well, I don't like the length of those operations. I don't want any heart-lung bypass. I don't want total body cooling. I don't want circulatory break-in. And hey-ho, I don't have to have any of those. For me, the real killer was anticoagulation therapy. But also, down here, reoperation rate. For valve-sparing root replacement, the reoperation rate is frighteningly high. I think our reoperation rate will approach zero because there's no way this device can fail. It becomes incorporated into the outside of the aorta. It just sits there. There are no moving parts. Nothing can fail. So speaking as a patient, this looks like a pretty good option to me. I think it compares very, very well with the existing treatments. One thing that this has really thrown up for me, this whole patient business, is the issue of patient choice. I think in the UK, and I can't speak for other countries, I think points 1 and points 4 are pretty well covered. I think the medical profession are okay at telling you what's wrong with you, what the prognosis is, how long you'll live, or whatever. But in the middle, these middle two, I think they're really, really poor. There are many hospitals in the UK now that still only offer one of the three options. There are many hospitals that will never tell you about external support. There are even some surgeons who will threaten you that it is dangerous because it is new and it is experimental. It is not. So I think that medical professionals all over the world should be looking very, very hard at talking about all of the options and all of the risks and all of the benefits, but particularly letting patients know which pieces of information they are being given are factual and which are opinions, and also for any declarations of any conflicts of interest to be declared, such that if you go along to a BMW garage and you try and buy an Audi, they're going to try and sell you a BMW, aren't they? Well, there you are. And I think that's true for some surgeons. What are the results like? Well, we haven't done a randomized controlled trial, and I don't think we need to do a randomized controlled trial. We're now at 54 patients. We're at 233 post-op patient years. We've got 20 patients with more than 5 years follow-up with absolutely no problems. There have been no device-related events. It works. It's that simple. Now, my challenge now is to convert that reality into the closed minds of the cardiothoracic surgeons. I'm going to reiterate this point because it really is important. I believe if we have true multidisciplinary teams, we can get to better solutions much, much more quickly and much, much more cheaply. And God knows the health services all over the world have got to save money. Everything has got to be more cost effective. New treatments need to be safe. They need to be efficacious. They need to work at least as well as the existing. Ours works better than the existing, but they do need to be cost effective because without that, we're all in trouble. And even the extremely well-paid physicians will be in trouble because they'll have no job. So that's a real issue, I think. We've produced a much better solution than total root. I mean, we haven't produced an incrementally better solution. We've produced a radical solution that is head and shoulders better than what is currently on offer. In terms of patient experience, which is maybe not so important when your life is threatened, what you want to do is survive. If it's stressful along the way, well, you'll put up with that, but you want to survive. But this operation is so much less stressful. Helen was operated on a Wednesday. Admittedly, she was 21 years old. She went home on the Saturday. Can you imagine that? Have your chest opened, your heart played with, and be out of hospital within 4 days? Absolutely incredible. I think I've had enough of that slide, really. there's not enough time for me here to tell you the entire story. If you want to see the entire story, go to our website and watch my TED Talk. Finally, I would like to say it's a great honor to be part of this patient innovation initiative. It's so important because so many brilliant solutions are out there, because so many patients, like myself, have a real insight, real professional abilities, and if we could bring those into the medical profession, we could produce better solutions for lower cost, and we all do need that. So my congratulations go to the entire team for driving such an important initiative to the benefit of everybody. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Okay.
I would now like to call to the stage Dr. Artur Santos Silva, the president of the Carlos Gulbenkian Foundation, to give the word to Tal. And let me just mention, following what Carlos Moedas, or Commissioner Carlos Moedas said before, that this foundation has been important for lots of people in this country. It has been important to me. It paid part of my studies. It has been important for this project. It has been important for many of the people in the stage. And we are really grateful that we are here today with you and with your colleagues. Looks like it's, yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations for your inspiring story. You have shown to us that it's very important that the patients are informed about their problems, the problems that should be faced and solved. And your story is a lesson for all of you, of we. It was a lesson for you, but especially is a lesson for all of you. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your contribution.
My pleasure.
Thank you.